Shigeru was an ugly loser who lost his job and will to live after a girl framed him for being a molester. But when he gets a chance to go to another world, he sacrifices his looks and ability to touch girls in exchange of absolute power that turns him into a god. Shigeru was always ugly, but he was never a bastard. He was a regular office worker who didn't let his ugly appearance stop him from being an upright human and living his life to the fullest. He treated everyone with respect and had a modest social life. But everything changed when a woman falsely accused him of touching her on a train. No one believed him just because he was ugly, and the matter soon went to court. Shigeru pleaded guilty to pay a small fine and get out of it quickly, but his plan backfired and he was kicked out of his job for being a certified molester. However, a few years later, the woman who falsely accused him was arrested for running a scam. She wasn't even in it for money and framed the men she found ugly on purpose. Shigeru was furious, but he couldn't do anything about it. Because of the trauma he faced from the incident, he lost his confidence, and he could not find a job. Things got worse as time passed, and Shigeru became a jobless shut-in. He ate through his savings and even his parents' money when one day, he reads an article about people going missing in his area. He wishes he would disappear too, but as he reads the comments under the article, he finds a guy who claims that he visited another world. He says that he messed up by distributing his stat points wrong at the beginning, and had to return back to Earth by sacrificing half his life. Shigeru laughs at this, but he is too desperate and decides to follow the instructions left by the guy. He faces towards the windows with his arms raised, and then, as the clock hits 2, his laptop screen changes by itself, asking him if he wants to start a new life. Shigeru thinks it is just a virus, but he plays along, clicking next on the page. The next page shows him that he would be 16 years old in the new life, and he could alter how many points he would put into his looks. Having been an ugly man all his life, Shigeru drops the value from 5 to -255, and that gives him a huge amount of bonus stat points. Not only that, Shigeru finds that the more negative features he chooses for himself, the more stat points he gets. He immediately begins typing things that no one else would want, like getting his income reduced by 10,000% and losing 10% of his HP every time he touches a girl. As for his final condition, he writes that if he ever loses his V card, he loses his life, and the system gives him 100 trillion bonus stat points in return. However, before Shigeru can distribute those points to his stats, the timer reaches 0, and he is sent to another world. When he wakes up, he finds that he has become more ugly than he was in his previous life, and on top of that, he is twice as heavy as the average American. Just then, more people arrive there, and Shigeru gets shy on seeing the two girls in their underwear. The handsome guy takes off his shirt and gives it to one of the girls shivering from cold, and Shigeru tries to be a gentleman and does the same thing. However, the other girl refuses him because she doesn't want something worn by an ugly fatso. Anyway, the handsome guy introduces himself as Seiji. The blonde loli doesn't share her name, and the second girl introduces herself as Seika. All of them are 16, and they find it hard to believe that Shigeru is the same age as them. Seiji takes the lead and confirms that all of them came to this world following the same method. But while they talk, Shigeru decides to search the room because he isn't here to make friends. He opens a drawer and finds a gold coin in it, which disappears just as he touches it. He realizes that since he put the condition to reduce his income, the money vanished, but decides not to worry too much about it. Just then, Seiji comes inside and tells Shigeru that they should look for resources together. Soon, they find a bunch of weapons and clothes as well as some coins. Shigeru doesn't think that the tiny clothes would fit him, but they turn out to be magical and adjust to everyone's body. Next, the girls decide to divide the money amongst them, but they point out that there are only 7 coins and 8 people here. They believe that Shigeru stole the 8th coin, and he realizes that they are right. He decides to let them have all the coins to themselves, and even though Seiji tells him that it is unfair, Seika tells him that they should keep the coins because Shigeru didn't even help in finding them. Shigeru hates the spoiled bitch already, but he decides to ignore her and deal with Seiji, asking if he can have the axe in exchange for the money. Seika is against that, and even Seiji says that he can't take those decisions alone. He reveals that in his original life, he was selfish and had communication issues, and he is trying hard to be different in this life. He points out that Shigeru seems to have some issues himself as well, and he should try to get over them. In the end, they decide to divide the weapons with rock, paper, scissors, and Shigeru loses to everyone, getting only the wooden club as his weapon. Next, Seiji says that they should shake hands to mark the start of their adventure, but Shigeru refuses because he isn't taking any risks this time. Soon, they find a map and decide to head to the nearest town, but as soon as they open the door, they find a small goblin ready to attack them. Seiji quickly takes action and kills the goblin with a single strike. But then he finds that more of them are heading this way. He takes the lead, telling the blonde Loli to support him on the front lines while Seika strings her bow to join the fight. He asks Shigeru to protect Seika in the meantime, and then starts defeating the goblins one by one. Seika, however, is a total noob who can't even string a bow, and while Shigeru is judging him, a goblin attacks him from behind. He decides to finish it off in one hit, but he finds that he is ridiculously weak right now. The small goblin is able to push him back, and when Shigeru wonders how can he so weak despite having 100 trillion stat points, he realizes that he ran out of time before he could distribute them. He then decides to fight back against the goblin with his current stats, and manages to defeat it with his next strike. Suddenly, a status window opens in front of him, and he finds that killing just one goblin makes him reach level 32 because he has a 10,000% exp increase bonus. Just then, Seiji and the Loli also level up, and they assign their stat points to strength and stamina. Shigeru realizes that they can't see each other's system window, and he decides to put 1 trillion points in each of his attributes for now. Just as he does that, his system window starts to glitch and a golden light shines on him. Shigeru wonders what is happening, and then his system reveals that his class has been decided based on his stats. His class is the Almighty God, and Shigeru can't fully grasp what that means. He is snapped out of his thoughts as a goblin starts hitting him, but his attacks don't do any damage at all. Shigeru decides to try out his strength against the goblin, and he hits it with a finger flick, which is enough to send it flying to the stratosphere. No one else sees what just happened, and they think that it was just a gust of wind. Seiji and the Loli resume hunting the goblins, but Seika is still struggling with getting her bow ready. She gets teary-eyed and Shigeru decides to have pity on her. He acts like he is a bow maniac and needs to string one immediately so that Seika doesn't feel bad about taking his help, and his trick works on the stupid girl. She hands the bow to Shigeru, who uses his 1 trillion dexterity points to string the bow in one fell swoop. Seika is impressed and insists that he shoot one arrow as a thanks, and Shigeru decides to try one of the skills he got along with his class. He selects the Thunder Arrow skill and then launches the arrow ahead. But instead of hitting any goblin, it flies towards the sky instead. Shigeru wonders if his accuracy is that bad. But then suddenly, a gigantic magic circle appears in the sky and a majestic thunder dragon comes out of it, hitting the ground and killing all the goblins. Everyone is shocked to see this, but Shigeru just says that he was in the archery club where they teach this type of stuff. Seika believes him once again, and then decides to support her friends in the battle, but she just randomly fires arrows even without aiming. Seiji and the Loli decide that they should handle the rest of the goblins as well, and Seika soon runs out of arrows. She gets gloomy and disappointed at her uselessness, and Shigeru pities her yet again. He uses a skill to turn a stick into more arrows and tells her that there are some item drops on the ground. Seika gets happy to find them, but she wastes them all again anyway, and in the meantime, the other two finish off all the goblins. Soon after that, they reach the town, and while everyone else rushes to eat something, Shigeru decides to go his separate ways because an ugly loser like him needs to be alone. He sits near a fountain and realizes that he is hungry too, and just then, a cat arrives there. He is about to pet it, but stops fearing that she might be a female, and he may lose 10% HP if he touches it. Just then, Seika arrives there, and Shigeru is so startled that he falls into water. After he gets out, Seika tells him that she bought a burger for him because she knows he is broke, and she wanted to thank him for helping her earlier. Shigeru begins to see her in a more positive light and accepts the huge burger, but coincidentally, their fingers touch, and he gets a powerful shock that makes his throw the burger away. He suffers 58 trillion damage, which is enough to destroy the world 300 times over. But the bigger problem is that Seika is upset now because she thinks that Shigeru threw away the burger on purpose. However, he has his skills from the days when he was a top salesman, and he tells Seika that he was startled because she is too beautiful. He tells her that he will eat the burger she bought for him, and she tells him that it is too dirty. She offers him the one she bought for herself instead because she is really grateful to him, and he decides to accept her gratitude. As he eats the burger, Seiji and the Loli find them, and Shigeru decides to stick around till he pays Seika for the burger. Soon after that, Seika heads to a store to buy some arrows because she runs out of them so quickly. She keeps asking the shopkeeper for more arrows, claiming that she is rich enough to pay for them. But the man tells her that her bag is already full. Shigeru is also with her, and he wants to help her out. But he can't tell her that he can create arrows anytime he wants. Anyway, Seika asks him if he is not going to buy anything, and she immediately answers her question, realizing that he can't buy anything because he is broke. Once they head outside, Seiji and the Loli return after finding a good inn to stay at night. Shigeru says that he will stay in the park because obviously he has no money, but Seika says that she will pay for his room. Shigeru tries to tell her that there is no need for that, but Seika plays the woman card and asks if he doesn't want a girl to pay for his room. Shigeru isn't even give the time to reply as Seika grabs his hand and starts dragging him along, but since she touches him through the clothes, he doesn't take any damage. Later that night, Shigeru thinks that he can't stay here any longer because then he will be under more debt to Sokka and others. The next day, Seiji and others wake up to find some delicious cookies and food waiting on the table for them. Shigeru tells them to help him because he can't eat it all, and they ask how did he get all that when he doesn't have any money. Shigeru replies that he used a technique that makes people want to give him something in return. However, he just created some arrows using sticks and used the barter system to sell them for food instead of money. Seika tells him that he doesn't need to beg just because he is broke, because she can always help him out. Well, Shigeru thinks that he has repaid his debt to her, so he doesn't need to stick around any longer. Once they are done eating, Seiji pulls out the map and says that they need to start going on quests so that they can earn some money. He has noticed that the monsters they fought yesterday didn't drop any money or loot, so he is planning to check out a cave nearby. Shigeru is impressed by Seiji's decision-making abilities, when suddenly, a rugged man arrives there, saying that he can be his guide to the cave. The man introduces himself as Kyoshiro and claims to be reincarnated just like them. He freaks out a bit on seeing Shigeru's ugly mug, but then asks if they are all new here. Seiji immediately gets up to talk to him while keeping his guard up, and then Kyoshiro pulls out some green cards from his pocket, saying that it is an item they find at the first log house, and they can get a full discount at the inn using it once. Seika panics on hearing this because they didn't find the cards, and Kyoshiro tells her that she can get a full refund even if she shows the cards now. He tells her to take them and Seika immediately takes the cards, much to Seiji's disbelief because he still doesn't trust Kyoshiro fully yet. Shigeru is the same, and he thinks that rather than being a guide, Kyoshiro is someone who exploits newbies. He thinks that he can handle the situation if things go bad, and for now, he decides to let Seiji make the decision. Seiji weighs the pros and cons of the situation, and decides to hire Kyoshiro to guide them in the end because they need information and ways to level up quickly. With that, Kyoshiro leads the group to the cave and soon, a bunch of goblins arrive there. Seika immediately starts firing arrows at them, but none of them actually hit. Shigeru is disappointed and Kyoshiro tells Seika to think that her arrows are worth 1,000,000 yen before firing. Even though she is proud of her wealth, imagining the high cost makes Seika more careful with her aim, and she is able to take down a goblin with a precise strike. They move ahead after that, and Shigeru is surprised that Kyoshiro is actually doing a good job as a guide. After that, Kyoshiro guides everyone on how to use their weapon properly, and Seika relapses into her old habit of shooting arrows mindlessly. Kyoshiro asks Shigeru if he is not going to practice, and he replies that he doesn't have any suitable skills right now. Kyoshiro gets that it is hard to level up with staff as his weapon, but he asks Shigeru not to be disappointed because the ultimate skill of the staff is really awesome. Shigeru already knows this because when he went to the forest to make arrows, he encountered a giant orc and decided to try his strongest skill against it. However, the system warned him that if he used that skill, everything within a radius of 200 kilometers would be wiped out and over 1.5 million people would die, so he cancelled it immediately. Anyway, Kyoshiro tells him to be active on the battlefield or he will be forced to retire just like him. He begins telling the story of how he used to be in a mercenary group, but while their leader became a king, he fell off and had to retire. He begins praising the king, saying that he is at level 80 and all his stats are over 160, but that is incredibly weak for Shigeru. After that, they finally reach the cave, which looks like ancient ruins, and everyone is excited to explore them, but Seika is scared. However, once she reaches the cave, she gets curious about the limestone spikes and starts sulking when Kyoshiro tells her to stay away because they are dangerous. Shigeru wonders if Seika is actually a kid, and Seiji asks her the question in a more sensible manner. He first reveals that he was 30 years old in the other world, and then Seika says that she is 17 years old in real life and preparing for college. While Seiji begins talking about her studies, Shigeru realizes that Seika is at least academically smart. After that, they fight against some monster bats and reach the boss room, and Seika finally learns about thinking before taking an action. Kyoshiro tells her that she shouldn't enter the boss room because she will die immediately at this rate, and Seika backs away. Seiji decides to call it a day and thanks Kyoshiro for his help, and he replies that he will make a good leader. However, before returning, he has a special event for the newbies, and he leads them to a conference room to throw a party for them. He says that another summoned person created this safe space where no monster or magic can reach, and inside, there are chips and drinks. Shigeru immediately uses his poison detection skills and finds that the rims of the cans have been spiked with a sleeping drug. Luckily, Seiji is cautious enough to turn down the offer. But when Kyoshiro acts sad and depressed, he apologizes for doubting his sincerity. He agrees to celebrate with him, and Shigeru is low-key disappointed by Seiji's goodness. Anyway, everyone begins to eat and drink, and Shigeru decides to distract them with a conversation so that he can cast antidote magic on them. He asks what they all did before coming here, and the vibe of the room quickly dies down. Shigeru realizes immediately that everyone here ran from their previous lives, including himself. But then Seiji decides to open up about his past a bit. He says that he left school after getting bored of everything and decided to start his own company called Success Life. Shigeru remembers that he once went to that company to make a sales pitch, and the CEO looked a lot like Seiji. Turns out Seiji remembers him as well because he made a big impact on him, and though he doesn't disclose his name, he reveals that a salesman came to him without an appointment and tried to sell him an expensive copier. He tried to bargain, but the salesman said that he would make him smile and never let him down. He also asked him to take it easy because he was the CEO, and inspired by his words, Seiji let his employees run the company. Luckily, his company made it big and everything was going well, but then he decided to replace his staff with AI, and that bankrupted his company. He became depressed and felt like he wasted the opportunity that the salesman had given him. That's why, when he came here, he swore that he would never let anyone down. He suddenly reveals that the salesman's name was Shigeru too, but our fat guy pretends that he was not the salesman. Soon after that, everyone falls asleep as a result of the drugs, and Kyoshiro brings his gang of thugs to take them away. However, Shigeru is only pretending to be asleep so that he can deal with the thugs when the chance comes. The thugs start handcuffing everyone, and just as Shigeru is about to do something, Seiji gets up, telling the thugs to not harm his party. Kyoshiro doesn't take him seriously because he knows that Seiji can barely stand, and he tells his men to carry on with their work. Shigeru can't use his abilities now because he doesn't want Seiji to get caught in the crossfire, but luckily, Seiji tries picking a fight with the thugs, only to get slammed at the wall. Kyoshiro tells his men to not hurt their products because that will reduce their value, and Seiji gets mad at hearing this. He says that the people who come here have already been broken by life, and when they get a second chance, people like him push them down. Kyoshiro tells him to lecture someone who will listen and tells his men to pack him up. Shigeru decides that it is his time to join the fight, and he simply jumps upon the bandits, squishing them under his weight instead of using his attack stats. He tells Seiji to take the girls and run away, leaving everything to him, but Seiji refuses to leave him in danger alone. He tells the bandits not to mess with them because he can take them down in one hit, but everyone thinks he is bluffing. The bandits dash towards him, but Shigeru decides to intercept them by bouncing around, absorbing their weak-ass punches and crushing them under his weight. Kyoshiro tells his men to deal with the jumping pig first, and Seiji asks him to run away because he will handle it. The thugs jump Shigeru, even though they don't really do any damage, but then one of them puts his fingers up his nostrils. Suddenly, a bright light starts coming out from Seiji's hand as he tells the bandits to back away before his light of truth pierces their evil hearts. They are taken aback and ask what is that skill, and Seiji explains that he made an oath in his special note that he will never let his friends down, and if he ever does that, he will pay the price for it. Because of that oath, he received a lot of bonus points, and he put them in his special skill that activates when he is angry. He tells the bandits that this is their last chance to run away, but Kyoshiro says that they will just chop off his hand before he can attack them. Shigeru decides to see what Seiji's attack can do, and he becomes a shield for him, telling him that they need to work together because they are outnumbered. Seiji then uses his special skill to transform into a Super Saiyan form that even Goku hasn't unlocked yet, telling the thugs that they will pay for their sins now. Kyoshiro and his men panic because they have not seen anyone transform like this before, and Shigeru is quite curious to see what Super Saiyan Seiji can do. Seiji suddenly screams out the name of his next attack, and his hand starts growing even brighter. He then dashes ahead towards Kyoshiro, but stops just short of punching him in the face. Kyoshiro asks him why the hell did he stop, and Seiji says that he is not the one to judge him, because that is for the law of this country. He knows that he can easily destroy the bandits right now, but he wants to give them a chance to repent for their sins and start a fresh life. Shigeru knows that this is as dumb as someone can get while trying to be a lawful good person, but he doesn't try to stop Seiji. Suddenly, Kyoshiro tells Seiji that he wins. He puts his weapon down and kneels before, accepting his punishment, and the naive Seiji believes him. He begins walking away, telling Kyoshiro that he won't forgive him if he commits another crime. Shigeru doesn't warn him this time as well, even though he knows that he is making the worst mistake by turning his back towards the enemy. Using this chance, Kaiosha rushes to attack Seiji, but Shigeru trips him using his rolling technique. The bandits curse Shigeru and start kicking him, but their attacks don't do any damage. Shigeru casually removes a booger from his nose and flicks it towards the wall, creating a huge explosion. While everyone stares at the destroyed wall in shock, Shigeru sneakily points Seiji's glowing fist towards the wall to make them believe that he did it. However, the problem is that even Seiji can't believe that, and Shigeru decides to step up his game. He says that he clearly saw Seiji execute his ultimate move and a white hawk descended from heaven, blowing up the wall. The bandits totally believe this story, even before Seiji himself is convinced. They fall to their knees on realizing that they can't win, and Kaiosha has tears and snot running down his face as he swears that he won't do bad things ever again. Shigeru realizes that this is not enough to punish them, and he orders the bandits to get in a line. They immediately obey, and then Shigeru asks Seiji to hit them with his special attack. Seiji hesitates because he doesn't want to punish someone who has already accepted defeat. The bandits are also terrified because they think they will die if they get hit by that attack, so Shigeru comes up with a middle ground, telling Seiji to slap those bastards with his righteous fist so that they know the pain of others. He manages to convince Seiji that he is the only one who can turn these bandits on the right path with the power of love. He remembers that Seiji claimed that his glowing fist can pierce all evil, and if the bandits are still acting, they will be destroyed by his slap. However, if they really have had a change of heart, they will be unharmed. However, to his shock, Seiji turns back into his normal form, saying that if he wants to change the heart of the bandits through the power of love, he can't do it using his Super Saiyan form that is fueled by anger. The bandits can't believe that someone can be this stupid, but it all works out in their favor anyway. Seiji has tears in his eyes as he slaps them with love, and the bandits thank him for giving them a chance after being slapped. Once everyone has been slapped, Shigeru ties up the bandits while Seiji carries the girls to safety. However, he is too exhausted to finish the job and collapses. The bandits suddenly get hopeful that they can win against him now, and they try to bribe Shigeru to join their side. They promise to bring some women who will do it even with an ugly bastard like him, and on top of that, they will pay him more. However, Shigeru decides to show them that he is just ugly but not a bastard. He simply snaps his handcuffs to scare the bandits and then tells them that Seiji is even stronger than him. The bandits can only curse him for turning down their offer, but Shigeru doesn't really care about their comments. Soon, Kaiosha and his men are turned into the local authorities, and Shigeru and his party get a huge amount of money from collecting their bounties. The girls are really excited to see this much money, and Seiji says that they should divide it amongst them. Seika says that they were unconscious so they don't deserve any money, and Seiji should take it because he defeated the bandits. She then asks about Shigeru, and Seiji says that Shigeru was even braver than him, and he tanked all the hits to keep him safe. The girls say that Shigeru was the MVP of the mission in this case, and he should get the most money. Seiji agrees with them, but Shigeru doesn't want to take the money because it will get reduced to 0.01% of the amount. So he tells Seiji that he has a bad habit of spending money as soon as he gets it, and he wants someone trustworthy to hold on to it for him. Seiji doesn't really go along with the plan, but when Shigeru insists that he can't keep the money, Seika volunteers to handle his money on his behalf. Seiji doesn't think that it is a good idea for someone as clueless and impulsive as her to handle the amount, but Shigeru lets her take the money because it will help him repay his debt to her when he leaves the party. Soon after that, Seika takes Seiji to the hamburger place to treat him to something nice, and he thinks that this is their last meal together because now he can run off on his own without any guilt. Seika soon returns with 2 happy meals, and Shigeru asks her if she loves hamburgers a lot. She tells him that she ate them for the first time 2 days ago and immediately fell in love, and Shigeru can't believe that she never ate a burger in the real world. Anyway, they start eating, and Seika asks him about his stats. Shigeru replies that they are pretty boring, and she tells him that he must have not noticed it, but lowering one's looks gives them a lot of stat points. Shigeru is shocked to learn that Seika found that out too, and he asks her if she reduced her look points as well. She tells him that she lowered them to -16, and he can't believe it because she looks too pretty for that. Seika proudly tells him that she used the special note feature on the welcome screen to wish to become pretty, and that somehow overrode her low look stats. Shigeru gets the greatest shock of his life on realizing that he could have done that and become handsome as well, but it is too late for that now. Just then, Seika notices a cat and eagerly says that she has never seen one up close. She begins wondering if there is any chance the cat can come here, and when Shigeru tells her to just go there to pet it, she gives him a judgmental stare. However, she immediately realizes that his advice makes sense and says that she forgot she could walk now. She then rushes towards the cat clumsily, and Shigeru realizes her deal. While she tries to pet the cat, Shigeru goes to the washroom and starts crying thinking about Seika's rough life. He now realizes that in the real world, she must be suffering from some condition that left her paralyzed at a young age. He pities her and asks if there is no God, when suddenly, he realizes that he is the almighty God in this world, and he might not be able to change reality, but he can help her out in other ways. Just then, Seika knocks at the door, asking if he needs medicine, and Shigeru tells her that he is fine. As he freshens up, he realizes that Seika is clumsy with her body and naive while interacting with others because of her past, and that will make her an easy target for villains. So he decides to stick with her and keep her safe till she becomes a fully competent adult. Soon after that, they reach the inn and Seiji calls a meeting to decide their job class so that they can become a more dynamic party. He declares that he will become the hero, Seika will become an archer, the blonde loli will become a mage, and Shigeru will become an epic fighter. Shigeru doesn't like adding the adjective epic in his job class for some reason. Seika suddenly speaks up, saying that she wants to be a hero too, but when Shigeru tells her that she can become the epic fighter in his place, she immediately refuses. In the end, Seiji remains the only hero of the group, so Seika becomes a mage instead, and the loli decides to become a hunter, while Shigeru also retains his job class. Once they purchase their new gear, Seiji decides to move to the largest city in the region, but before that, he sets up a budget for snacks keeping Seika's spending habits in mind. With that, the meeting is dismissed, but Seika stays behind to talk to the loli, who is her first friend here. She is nervous to talk to her, but Shigeru silently wishes her all the best. Seika finally manages to gather the courage to ask her to play jump rope with her, saying that she has practiced for it. The loli agrees, and the two girls head to change their clothes so that they can play. Meanwhile, Shigeru recalls how things turned out this way. Earlier, as he went shopping with Seika, she wanted to buy a cool-looking weapon, but he discouraged her from buying anything dangerous by saying only epic fighters use them. However, she got stuck on buying a nunchuck, but thanks to an unexpected collaboration between Shigeru and the shopkeeper, she changed her choice to a skipping rope instead. Once they left the shop, Shigeru taught her how to use the rope, and she quickly caught up. However, her mind soon wandered off to the blonde girl and how she wanted to be friends with her despite not knowing her name. Shigeru suggested a few ways to become friends with her, and that leads him to the present, where he is spying on the two girls as they play. The blonde girl quickly learns to skip rope from Seika, but when she brings up the topic of her name, she suddenly stops. Seika realizes that she really doesn't want to share her name, and then says that she discussed it with Shigeru earlier, and they came up with the nickname Rize for her. The blonde loli goes completely silent on hearing this and starts skipping rope again, jumping really high at the end. Everyone is surprised by this, and soon, a huge crowd swarms her, asking her to join their party. Seika tries to reach closer to her, but everyone ignores her and a guy even pushes her. She suddenly starts crying, and Shigeru has no choice but to go ahead and help her. The people freak out on seeing him and call him a monster, but the blonde girl Rize tells them that he is a member of their party. She is worried about Seika too and says that she just wanted to make her happy by showing her a trick, and Shigeru tells her that simply responding would have done a better job. Rize starts feeling really guilty about that and runs away crying, and in the end, Shigeru has to console Seika all the way back to the inn. However, as soon as she is about to enter her room, she finds a letter from Rize, apologizing for earlier and thanking her for the nickname. Seika immediately runs out to look for her, but Shigeru had already noticed Rize hiding behind the corner. He asks her to come out, and she tells him that she needs to talk to him in private. He asks her not to sue him later and then goes into the room, where Rize does a flying grovel to apologize to him. He gets confused about why she is apologizing to him, but then Rize reveals that she knows his full legal name, as well as the fact that he was the salesman that Seiji was talking about. Shigeru is taken aback by this, but he still keeps up the act, asking Rize why she thinks that. She tells him that she chose the special ability to read other people's status windows, and she can see their real name, their stats, as well as the things they wrote in the special note. Shigeru panics on realizing that she has read his notes that make him look like a frustrated incel, and he facepalms as he asks Rize what she wants. She tells him that it concerns Seika, and asks Shigeru if he has figured out that her body was paralyzed in the previous life. He affirms, and then Rize suddenly reveals that it was her who broke Seika in the past life, and she is here to atone for her sins. Shigeru is curious about it and asks what did she do to Seika. Rize replies that in her past life, she was a part of a program that aimed to change people's lives. Seika was one of the children they were working with, and she genuinely wanted her to live a better life. However, an explosion happened at their building one day, and Seika got severely injured in that. Rize starts crying as she says that she failed to prevent the accident and save Seika. She regretted the incident that happened because of misunderstandings between the people who worked there, and to avoid things like that, she wrote in her special notes that she wanted to know people better. Shigeru understands that this is the reason Rize got the power to look at other people's status. He asks her about the program she was in, and she tells him that it had to do with artificial intelligence. Her story immediately reminds Shigeru that Seiji's company went bankrupt because of an AI program that failed because of an explosion, and he asks Rize if she is talking about that. She affirms, revealing that she is actually Seiji's sister, but she has completely changed her behavior and personality here so he won't figure her out. Shigeru still has his doubts about her story, but Rize tells him that she can't lie because that was the cost of obtaining her special ability. She feels that their coming to this world at the same time is not a coincidence, and their fates were connected in the previous life as well. She knows that Shigeru is trying to make Seika happy, and to guide Seiji to become a better adventurer, and she requests him to let her assist him with that. Shigeru tells her that both Seiji and Seika are too pure-hearted, and they need his support to stay safe in this world. He agrees to work with Rize, and she pulls a Sakura on him, chopping her hair to show her determination. Shigeru is confused because there was no freaking point in doing that, and Rize tells him that Seika said that she looks good with short hair. Anyway, they formally form a pact with that so that they can help their other two friends. The next morning, they get ready to depart to the capital city, and Shigeru arranges a weird turtle-goat hybrid creature that will carry their luggage. Rize is the last one to arrive, and she is moved to tears when Seika tells her that she looks good with short hair. They start their journey with that, and soon run into a bunch of monsters. Seika takes one of them down using ice magic, and when another monster attacks her, Seiji protects her while Rize covers their back. They quickly deal with the monsters, and Seika flexes her talent as a magician to Shigeru, who can only nod that she is good. Seiji then remarks that since the sun is setting, they should find a place to set up camp, and everyone agrees. They are heading to the city of Valeria, and because Seika wanted adventure, they chose to climb through the mountains that are full of dangerous monsters and also have no inns to stay at. Luckily, they find a hollow tree trunk where they can rest at night, and Seika is really excited about it. Seiji asks if she would like to collect firewood or go fishing, and Seika confidently declares that she will catch the biggest fish in the river, but she clumsily hooks her own robe first. Shigeru manages to unhook her and then takes her fishing, but they can only wait for the fish to take the bait. Suddenly, Seika begins talking about how she is a crybaby, and she wants to become more mature and collected. Shigeru tells her that there is actually no need for that, because crying is not a bad thing. He tells her that people don't cry just because they are sad, but also when their hearts are filled with other emotions that they can't control. He remembers his past as he says that people gradually lose the ability to cry, and that stops them from growing stronger. He tells Seika that instead of learning how to not cry, she should learn to find out what moved her heart. Seika is moved to tears on hearing this as well. Just then, Rize arrives there, and on learning that they haven't caught anything yet, she simply shoots some fish in the river and then hands them over to Seika. She eagerly runs to the campsite to give them to Seiji, and in the meantime, Rize says that Seika always looks happy when she is with Shigeru. She believes that he is a person who can make others smile easily, and the party will be safe in more ways than one with him here. Shigeru is flustered at this, but then he decides to head back. Rize stops him and requests him not to reveal her identity to anyone because that may split their group apart, and he agrees to her request. Soon, they reach the camp where Seiji and Seika have already started cooking. As they sit down to eat, Seika copies Rize's mannerism, while Shigeru asks Seiji what does he think about their journey's end goal. Seiji gets serious on hearing this and replies that they have no end goal right now. Reaching Valeria is their immediate goal, and Seiji plans to learn more about this world and its problems so that he can figure out what they need to do. Shigeru is impressed by his logical thinking, when suddenly, he hears a sound coming from the bushes. A severely wounded and exhausted woman comes out of the forest and collapses right as Shigeru's party notices her. In her dreams, the woman thinks about how she was running from some bandits earlier. Despite being a person who reincarnated into this world, she could not fight against them, and she blamed her special notes for that. In her past life, she used to be low-key ugly, and her boyfriend dumped her for a pretty girl. Everyone in her social circle constantly mocked her, and the woman started hating pretty girls because of that. Suddenly, her dream ends, and she finds herself in the campsite with Seiji looking after her. He tells her that they have cleaned her wounds and applied first aid. Just then, Seika comes there with some warm water to clean her up, and the woman flinches because she hates how pretty she looks. Seiji tells her that Seika was the one who cast healing magic on her, but that doesn't change the woman's attitude either. She gets even more irritated when Seika tries to talk to her and asks Seiji to take her closer to the fire. Seika is upset by that, but Shigeru wants her to learn that she should not try to invade a stranger's personal space right after she meets them. Moreover, he wants her to stay away from the one-armed woman, because he knows the truth about her. Earlier, when the woman collapsed, Seiji asked him to bring some water. Shigeru rushed to the river, but Rize stopped him, and the look on her face told him that something was wrong. She told him that the woman was a reincarnator like them, and her special note was rather dangerous. She had written that she would never forgive pretty girls and kill them brutally, and both of them thought that she was definitely targeting Seika. Back to the present, Seiji comforts the woman who introduces herself as Riaya. He asks if she wants some food and she gladly agrees, but as Seika offers her a bowl, the hatred inside starts spilling out. Riaya tries reaching for her weapon, but thankfully Rize had already taken it away, and currently, she is keeping an eye on her at all times. Shigeru also keeps watching Riaya to stop her if she does something nasty, but Seiji and Seika have no clue about that. Seiji asks Riaya how she got injured, and she tells him that some people ambushed their party and she got separated from her friends. Shigeru wonders how much of that story is true, but Seiji believes the woman and offers to protect her till they reach Valeria. She is glad to take that offer, but as Seika tells him to trust their party leader, she gets worked up yet again and hurts her injured arm. Seiji asks her to relax, but Riaya tells him that she needs to go to the river. She asks Seika to take her there, and Seiji tells her that he will do it instead. Riaya says that she was actually planning to take a bath there, and he must be a real pervert if he wants to spy on her. Seiji gets flustered, and then Seika innocently asks him if he is a pervert. He gets knocked out due to emotional damage, and as Shigeru gets up to comfort him, Riaya tells him that if he even comes within 10 feet of her, she will scream. He tells her that he doesn't want to get close to her either. Suddenly, Rize comes there and offers to take her to the river. But because she can't lie, she can't hide her true expressions either. Shigeru wishes that she at least hid her murderous intent, because that scares Riaya, and she insists on Seika taking her to the river. Seika has no problem, and she even returns her weapon in case they are attacked by monsters. Shigeru panics because that will put her in even greater danger, but Rize follows them to keep Seika safe. Shigeru also starts going after them, but Seiji stops him, saying that he should respect women's privacy. He replies that Riaya is dangerous, and Seiji admits that the charm of an adult woman is indeed dangerous. Shigeru doesn't want a load of his simple, but he still can't go away without creating suspicions, so he starts jumping between the two locations at light speed to keep an eye on Seika. Seika is astonished when he sees him looking blurry, but Shigeru says that he must be tired and seeing things. He tells him to get some rest and then uses the sleep spell on him, quickly knocking him out. He then goes to the riverside and watches over Riaya, who suddenly points her sword at Seika. Seika is shocked to see this and asks her if she did anything to offend her. Riaya tells her that she didn't do anything and instead, she is a good girl, but she cannot disobey what she has written in her special notes. She tells Seika that she has sworn to kill all pretty girls because they ruined her life on Earth. So she swore to get revenge on them when she came to this world. She joined various adventure parties, killing the pretty girls and then running off to the next party, but they eventually caught up to her. She tells Seika that it is her turn to die today, but just as she is about to strike her, Rize shoots her sword out of her hands. She pushes Riaya back, and as she tries to grab her weapon, Shigeru arrives there and grabs her hand. She tells him to let go of her, but he draws his sword, telling her that she can't run away now. Then suddenly, a bright light dazzles all of them. They wonder what is going on, and as they look towards the source of the light, they find that it is coming from Seika, who has transformed into a literal angel. Shigeru is shocked to see that after Seiji, they have another person in their group who can transform. Seika starts floating towards Riaya, telling her that there is no need for any more suffering. Riaya, on the other hand, threatens her to stay away if she doesn't want to die, but her severed arm starts hurting really bad, and she falls to the ground. Seika asks her if she wants to hurt people, and Riaya replies that she doesn't, but she can't overcome what she has written in her special note. Shigeru also pities the poor girl who has become the female Jeffrey Dahmer because of her special notes, but Seika believes that there must be some way to change things. She floats towards Riaya, who slaps her hands away, but then Seika prays that she stops hurting. Suddenly, a burst of light is released from her hands, and Riaya's severed hand instantly regenerates. She gets sentimental on seeing her arm again, and Shigeru is shocked because even after being the absolute god, he cannot do miracles like these. Seika suddenly reveals that she wrote in her special notes that if her friends are ever hurting, she wants to become an angel to heal them and help them get back what they lost. Riaya starts crying as she realizes that Seika considers her a friend, and then Seika begins to talk about her past life. She says that she had a horrible scar on her face and had even lost one of her eyes, and she doesn't want anyone to go through similar things. She believes that she can't heal the emotional damage that Riaya is suffering, but says that together, they can find a way to cure that too. However, Riaya tells her to get away from her, calling her ugly. She suddenly realizes the cure to her situation and tells Seika that her crying face looks ugly, which is why she is no longer her target. She runs away with that, leaving Seika confused and hurt. Riz decides to chase Riaya to see what she does, and then Seika suddenly turns back to her normal form and collapses. But thankfully, Shigeru is there to catch her. Meanwhile, Riaya finds an isolated spot and carved something on a tree, before she turns her sword towards her face. However, Shigeru comes running just then and slaps the sword away from her hands because Riz informed him that she was trying to blind herself so that her special notes don't work out anymore. Riaya asks him if he is here to kill her, but Shigeru tells her that he hasn't fallen so low. He tells Riaya that if she injures her eyes, Seika will be sad, but he understands her reasons well. Therefore, he offers to make a deal with her, in which she will only lose her vision without losing her eyes. Riaya asks how can he do that, and Shigeru shows her the ultimate dark element skill called the 5-finger underworld seal, that can seal away one of her 5 senses but make her even stronger in return. She asks him who the hell is he to have such powerful spells, and Shigeru replies that he is a businessman running out of food. He tells her that this spell is the best thing he has to offer her because it will blind her without hurting her eyes. He then also tells her that the spell will last until it is offset by a powerful light element spell, so it will probably not be undone anytime soon. Riaya asks him why the hell is he going so far for Seika's sake, and her most obvious guess is that it is because she is pretty. Shigeru tells her that he is not so shallow, and reveals that he messed up his special notes a bit. He says that at first, he couldn't trust anyone, not even his party, but Seika was kind to him despite his ugly appearance, so he is just trying to repay the debt he owes her. Riaya replies that it must be really nice to be in a good party, and Shigeru offers her to join them because Seiji will accept her after hearing her circumstances. She refuses because she has already sinned too much, and now she wants to carve out her own way. However, she accepts his deal of blinding her, and Shigeru quickly uses his skill on her. Later, he returns to Seika, who has finally woken up now. He tells her how her power regenerated Riaya's arm, and she gets happy, thinking that she can help a lot of people now. However, Shigeru tells her that they should keep her power a secret because it is too valuable. She doesn't understand his reasoning, so he tells her that thieves steal valuable things in stories, and her ability falls in the same category. Seika gets a bit sad on hearing that, and then Shigeru further strengthens his story by telling her that Riaya tried to kill her because she is pretty. He says that she should protect herself from bad guys like that, and Seika asks what should she do. He tells her that she shouldn't doubt everyone but pay attention to their behavior and find if they are friends or enemies. Seika gets excited on hearing this, and then Shigeru tells her that in case she runs into someone dangerous even after being careful, she should loudly call for him, and he will come to help her instantly. He says that she can afford to fail once or twice because he will back her up, and she gets emotional on hearing that. She then stretches her hand towards him to seal their deal with a handshake, and despite knowing that he will take a huge amount of damage, Shigeru takes her hand. He feels an intense pain because of that, but he tries his best to hold it back so that he doesn't crush her hand. The next day, Shigeru tells Seiji that Riaya left last night, and she also left a message for Seika before going. He takes the entire party with him to the tree, where Riaya was carving out her message last night. In the message, she thanks Seika for healing her physical and emotional wounds, and promises to help her if they ever meet again. Seika gets emotional on reading that, and Seiji feels that they should have at least seen her off. But Shigeru tells them that Riaya was happy when she left, and she said she would find her own path. After that, they resume their journey to the city of Valeria, and while Seiji and Soka start talking about how excited they are to go to a new place, Riz remembers the conversation she had with Shigeru last night. He told her how he took Riaya's eyesight so she wouldn't attack girls from now on, and Riz was surprised. She was even more surprised by Seika's transformation because her special notes didn't mention anything like that. Meanwhile, Seiji's special notes had a very detailed and even embarrassing explanation of his transformation process, and even remembering them made Riz shudder from terror. However, Shigeru told her that he would need the full thing in writing because he wants to find out if Seiji has any weakness that can become a liability in the future. Riz was mortified by this task, but accepted it anyway. Shigeru told her that she could take her time with it, because he wants the weaknesses only by the time Seiji has made his decision. He reminded Riz about the time when Seiji told them that he would see the world for himself before coming up with a goal of their journey. and Shigeru has an idea about the best goal there is. He believed that Seiji should become a king, because from what the scammer Kyoshiro had told him, even people from the other world could become kings here. He told Rize that Seika is an innocent person who doesn't know anything about the real world. But Seiji is someone who knows about the dark side of the world but still retains his pure heart. He believed that having Seiji rule a kingdom would really help innocent people like Seika, and Rize replied that Shigeru could do that too. He told her that with his reduced income rate, his country would be the poorest of the poor, and on top of that, he is not cut out to be a leader. On the other hand, Seiji has a charisma about him that makes people follow him, and he can lead them well in any situation. Back to the present. Shigeru and Rize are a team with a separate goal from their remaining 2 party members. For starters, they want Seiji and Seika to level up as much as possible, and that is not going to be difficult because there is a huge horde of monsters in front of them. Seiji tells everyone that they will break through the monster horde and reach the city gate. But as they start running, he suddenly stops, saying that he needs to tie his shoelaces. Even though his shoe has as many laces as the number of zeros in my bank account, Seika believes him and runs ahead. Shigeru follows her and uses a wind wall to protect her from running into the monsters, and then looks back to find Seiji screaming like Goku to transform into his Super Saiyan angel form. Shigeru thinks that the whole shoelace act was unnecessary for just this. But then he remembers that Seiji's clothes get ripped each time he transforms, and they are not cheap. Luckily, Seiji remembers this too, so he takes off the expensive clothes, folds them nicely, and then starts the whole screaming thing from scratch. In the meantime, Shigeru comes up with a plan to help Seika level up too. He soon finds some ruins where they can take shelter, but the monsters start climbing the walls. Rize suggests they hit them and send them down, and Seika follows her advice. Shigeru casts the blessings of the Almighty God on them, increasing their stats so that they don't have any trouble. He then decides to delay the battle as long as possible without killing any monster, so he creates some golems using mud that engage the monsters in battle safely. Shigeru then turns around to see where Seiji is at, and to his disappointment, he is still screaming because he needs anger to transform, but he doesn't have anything right now. Suddenly, he remembers the time an intern stepped on his shoe, and he channels that rage to transform without ripping off his clothes. He then runs downhill, and Shigeru wonders what the hell does he even have wings for. Seiji then climbs on the ruins where the rest of his party is present, and Rize already gets a cringe attack on seeing his cringe actions. He introduces himself as a wandering adventurer named Hiro Aldine, and then jumps down, taking the monsters out with his special powers. Seika is really impressed by him, but Rize is holding back the urge to puke on seeing his cringe actions. Meanwhile, Seiji keeps fighting the small monsters, but when he comes face to face with a giant rock golem, he deactivates his power so that he can aura farm later by flying and using his other moves. With that, he wipes out all the monsters and soon vanishes, before returning in his normal form again. Seika doesn't even doubt that Seiji was Aldine, and she tells him all about how cool the hero was. He gets happy on hearing that and wants others to praise him as well. And now Shigeru wonders if it is really a good idea to turn this narcissistic idiot into a king. Soon, they reach the city of Valeria, and it holds many surprises for them. The city square is vibrant and full of cheerful people, and at the center of the city, there is a big castle. However, the surprising thing is a job center that is right next to the castle, and Shigeru has great sympathy for all the corporate slaves hanging around that place. After that, they return the creature that carried that luggage to the animal shed, but the guy tells Seiji that they can't take the other animal with him. While Shigeru would have tolerated most things, even he gets angry at being called an animal, and the man gets scared by his angry gaze. Just then, Seika finds an animal that looks just like Shigeru, and even he is appalled by it. However, she finds it cute, but that is nothing worth talking about because she finds everything cute. They explore the city after that, and Seika keeps getting distracted by every little thing. Shigeru thinks that while this world looks peaceful and cheerful, there are too many problems for otherworlders like them. The biggest problem of all is that monsters don't drop money, and they need to find a source of steady income to live and grow properly. Shigeru thinks that he can make things easy for everyone if he just uses his powers as the Almighty God, but he thinks that such a shallow method will harm the pure-hearted idiots of his party, and he needs to be more clever about it. At night, they stay in an inn, and Seiji tells Shigeru that he asked around the city and learned that they need to find a job in this world if they want to make money. Shigeru is disappointed to hear that they need to hunt for a job even in another world, but then Seiji gives him the details. He says that 2,000 riras a month is considered a decent salary here. Shigeru asks if there is no reward for defeating monsters like they did yesterday, and Seiji replies that as long as they don't get a quest to hunt monsters, they will not be paid. Shigeru then recalls that there were some high-paying jobs in the job center as well. He remembers a job posting about a detective's assistant that paid 10,000 riras a month, and there was a trash cleanup job that offered 28,000 riras per month. He tells Seiji about those jobs, saying that they seem suspicious as no experience or qualifications were required to accept them. He can totally see Seika falling for those jobs and hopes to keep her away from them. Seiji agrees with him, saying that decent jobs will only get them a normal life, but high-paying jobs are either sketchy or need too much experience. He suddenly gets an idea and asks Shigeru what he thinks about going to the casino. Shigeru is shocked to hear that even their hero is interested in gambling, but Seiji tells him that he just wants to gather more information. He says that in the market, he only met ordinary people making an ordinary amount of money, but in the casino, they should certainly find people who do unique jobs or make a ton of money. He claims that information is the best currency for people like them, and he plans to use it to create the best path that will let his party live without worrying about anything. Shigeru likes his plan, and the next night, the entire party heads to a grand casino. Seika immediately tries out her luck on a game, and the waitress that comes to offer Shigeru a refill of his drink gets grossed out by his appearance. The other customers in the casino are the same as well, but it doesn't bother him much. Luckily, Seika wins her first ever game in the casino, and she is really excited about it. On the other hand, Seiji talks to people to gather info, and Rize uses her methods to find useful things separately. In the meantime, Seika decides to go all in on the next round on gambling, losing everything she earned in the first one. She plays a bit more, but then gets hungry, so she takes a break to have a burger. Shigeru asks her how much money she spent, and she tells him that she spent around 20,000 riras, which is enough to make him lose his hair out of worry. Just then, the manager of the casino comes to Seika, saying that he noticed her play earlier, and he was curious about her financial status. Seika confidently tells him that she is rich, and Shigeru panics because he should have stopped her from saying that. The manager Kajita, on the other hand, is super delighted and starts buttering up Seika. He asks her if she can come to his office so that they can talk in private, and she only accepts once Shigeru is also allowed in as her bodyguard. Once in the office, a servant brings hot cocoa for Seika, and Shigeru examines the room, thinking that the casino is raking money in. Suddenly, Kajita starts glazing Seika, saying that he was truly impressed by her boldness to go all in without hesitation. He says that rich people should gamble just like that, and Seika is flattered by that. He then tells her that he was so impressed by her that he has a special offer for her. He reveals a golden extra stage pass that will make her a VIP at the casino and let her access even more thrilling games for their regular customers. He says that usually, their enrollment fee and membership charges cost 20,000 riras, but for her, he will make an exception and reduce the fees to 0. Seika is tempted by the offer, but she says that she will have to pay the membership charges next year. Shigeru is proud that she has finally started suspecting shady things, but Kajita is a smooth talker who is not done yet. He tells Seika that her membership fees will be waived off for her entire life because he really wants her to become a VIP. Seika asks him what is so special about her, and he replies that he was truly moved by her gambling style, and he wants to see her gamble even more now. Seika is tempted, and she asks Shigeru what to do. He sees no harm in just getting a membership card, but suggests she talk to Seiji first. Seika likes the idea as well, and Kajita tells her that she can talk to her friend, and if he is rich, he would like to talk to him as well. Seika tells him that Seiji is rich, but not as rich as her, and Shigeru worries about her future. Soon, they leave the room, and Seika says that the manager was really nice. Just then, Rize also comes there with a worried expression on her face. As Seika leaves to find Seiji, Shigeru stays behind to talk to Rize, who has troubling news about Kajita. She says that he is also a reincarnator like them, and in his special notes, he has written that he won't be fooled anymore and destroy all rich people. He swears to suck them dry and push them to the depths of hell, and Rize is not sure that even Shigeru could win against him at his games. Soon, the group returns to their inn and Seika tells everyone about Kajita. They all agree that he sounds suspicious, and she is disappointed on hearing that. Seiji asks Shigeru's opinion on the manager, and he replies that he was really skilled at making people believe they are special and tricking them. He says that luckily Seika didn't fall for his lies, but there must be other people who get tricked. After that, Seiji decides to share his report. He says that he talked to a lot of people who took high-paying job offers from the job center. Surprisingly, all the jobs led them to the casino in the end, and no one passed the tests. He says that only the friend of a guy named Kai got the job as a detective's assistant, and his job was to find people who went on a spending spree in the casino. The story becomes even more worrying when Seiji reveals that Kai's friend has been missing for some time now. And when he went to his home to talk to him, he found that his house had vanished and the plot was for sale. The guy's family registry had vanished as well, and the police didn't even accept a missing person report, as if the guy never existed to begin with. Shigeru is pretty sure that Kajita must be behind it. He notices Rize looking like she is nervous about sharing some information, so he gestures that he will cover for her no matter what she says. Rize is relieved to hear this, and she hands Seiji an item that she found near the back gate of the casino. Both Seiji and Shigeru are horrified as they remove the cloth and see a human finger, and they somehow stop Seika from looking at the horrifying thing. Rize explains that she was looking around the back door when she saw a guy carrying something on his back, and the finger fell from the luggage. She only realized what it was once she got close, and for a moment she questioned if she should retrieve the finger or chase after the guy. Seiji tells her that she made the correct decision because it would be dangerous to go after the other guy alone. Now, he is certain that the casino is doing something shady and says that they need to find out more about it. Seika immediately volunteers to go undercover since Kajita scouted her out. Both Rize and Shigeru warn her that it is dangerous because rich people like her are the real targets, but she replies that she is really mad that Kajita betrayed and hurt other people. She says that he needs to be stopped at all costs, and Shigeru turns towards Seiji, asking him to stop her. However, Seiji is even more fired up, causing him and Rize to lose their minds. Later, the two of them go outside to talk, and Shigeru asks Rize about Kajita's skills because she said even the absolute god won't be able to beat him. She replies that she couldn't see everything, but one his skills was to see through all lies. That probably triggers his other skills. However, his status window was really abnormal, and it looked like it has been cut and pasted and deformed multiple times. She warns him to be careful, and Shigeru realizes that he should not lie in front of Kajita even as a joke. He then puts his robe around Rize, telling her that it will be alright. He talks about how they went to earn some money but ended up finding an evil person, and now they will stop him. Rize agrees, telling Shigeru another detail about her special note. She wrote that if true evil appears before her, she will become the envoy of hell and drag them to darkness, and Shigeru is taken aback as she partially transforms. The next night, Seika dresses up fancy and walks like a model on her way to the casino, telling Shigeru that it is necessary to put on an act if she wants to find the truth about Kajita. She believes that she will succeed because Shigeru and Rize have trained her how to hide the truth without lying. Soon, they reach the casino and Kajita comes there to welcome them. He asks Seika if she has come up with an answer to his request, and she tells him that if he can show her a game that entertains her, she will become a member. He is glad to hear this and tells her to follow him along with his ugly guard, and Shigeru thinks that he will let the manager act cocky before his evil deeds are exposed. Kajita then leads Seika and Shigeru to the underground VIP area. Shigeru knows about Kajita's ability to discover lies, so their best way to resist him is by giving him as little information as possible. They have only given him Seika's name to put on the VIP pass for starters, and Shigeru wonders what else they can do beyond this point. Just then, Kajita asks Seika how much she is planning to spend today, suggesting that she might be planning to gamble 1,000,000 liras. Seika asks him if he is underestimating her, and Kajita's mood suddenly sours. He then brings them to the VIP zone, and the atmosphere there is completely different from the normal casino. Seika likes the vibe of the place, and then Kajita introduces an employee who will show them around. The man named Kato first introduces himself, but he keeps on fumbling as he tries to explain how things work here. Shigeru thinks that Kato is new, but he can't keep an eye on him for long as Kajita approaches him, asking if he would like to gamble too. Shigeru realizes that he is here to get some information from him since Seika isn't sharing anything. He replies that he can't play because he has no money, and that is not a lie at all. Shigeru then activates his skill, Dynamic Vision, that allows him to see everything that is going around the room while still talking to Kajita. He finds a spy noting details about everyone, like Seika being a flashy young lady with a budget of over 1,000,000 liras. Suddenly, Kajita asks Shigeru if he is strong, and he replies that he is. Kajita then asks him if he is above level 70, and Shigeru gives him a vague answer that hides his level while still not qualifying as a truth. Next, Kajita asks about his stats, and Shigeru replies that he distributed his skill points without much thought, and there are a lot of zeros in his stats, like in magic defense. Well, that answer is not a lie either because obviously there are many zeros in a trillion, but the spy thinks that Shigeru didn't distribute his skill points wisely. He writes down that he put his points in his warrior like attributes and magic defense is his weakness that they can use to crush him. Just then, an employee comes there to call Kajita to a customer who needs his help, and he immediately tells Seika that he needs to go. He asks her if she wants to see something interesting like monster battles, and she tells him that she will think about it. Kajita leaves with that, leaving Kato in charge of her, and he is still fumbling because this is probably his first day at work. Just then, Kajita leads the client that called him and Shigeru is shocked to see another fat and ugly bastard, who looks exactly like his boss from his previous life. He just hopes that this is not the same guy, when his eyes go to Kajita's notepad in which he has written a liberation plan. Meanwhile, Seika is throwing tantrums and intimidating Kato, asking him to take her to the most fun game. Shigeru is glad that she understands her role very well, which is to throw tantrums and stay here for as long as she can without spending too much money. In the meantime, he pretends to have a stomach ache and asks Kato where the washroom is. He decides to escort him, but Seika holds him back, telling him that he should pay more attention to the customers. Shigeru uses this chance to explore the casino on his own. He first drains the energy from a guard to knock him out, and then uses his skills to turn into a bat. He begins looking around for Kajita and finds him entering a secret room. He quickly infiltrates the room, and then uses another skill to open a portal between him and the room where Seika is so that he can go to her location immediately if she needs his help. Seeing that she is doing well, Shigeru turns his attention to the strange statue on the other side of the room. Kajita walks to the statue and begins talking to his parents, telling them that everything is going according to the plan. He remembers that they taught him there is something more important than money in the world. They were never rich, but his parents taught him to enjoy a life of honesty. However, that honesty took their life when they refused to evict their house for a big corporation to build their project over their home. As a result, the corporation crushed a truck into their home, killing them both, and Kajita was completely changed after that incident. He became an assassin and devoted his life to hunting down the bastards responsible for his parents' death. Once his life's mission was over, he decided to unalive himself as well, but just then, he got the chance to come to this world, and he felt that it was his parents who sent it to him. In this world too, he saw the rich trampling on the poor and made it his mission to give them pain that would free them from their earthly desires. He asks his parents to keep watching him, and Shigeru realizes that he has no other reason to live than to get revenge on rich people. Just then, Kato and another employee come there, telling Kajita that Seika is throwing tantrums and saying that she wants to leave because there is nothing interesting here. Kajita scoffs and tells them that she must be scared by the high exchange rates, and tells them to use strategy number 13 to lure her in. Both the employees agree and begin heading back, but Kajita stops the second one because he detects a lie in his answer. His skill activates because of that, and he saps out all the life force from the guy, turning him into a dead husk. He then calls one of his henchmen to dispose of the garbage, and then turns to Kato, asking if he gets what he is supposed to do. Kato nervously replies that strategy number 13 means they let Seika win today, so that she gets hooked, and Kajita praises him, saying that he likes honest guys like him who know what to do. Kato nervously leaves the room with that, but thanks to this interaction, Shigeru has found out more about how Kajita's power works. Anyway, he returns to Seika, who keeps winning according to Kajita's strategy. However, Shigeru can't pay any attention to that because he is still feeling odd because of seeing a person die in front of him. Suddenly, Seika tells him to pay more attention to her because she has won 6 times in a row. Shigeru asks her how much money she has won till now, and she tells him that she has won 2 million riras. Kato and the dealer are getting nervous now because Seika bets all the money she earns in the next round, and Kato tells her that she doesn't need to go all in every time. However, Seika replies that it is her playing style, unaware that the casino has to let her win on purpose in order to keep her hooked. Kato can't take the risk of bankrupting their casino, so he immediately leaves to report to Kajita, while Shigeru gets lost in his thoughts again. This time, he thinks about how his rule of getting the 1,000th part of his actual income doesn't apply to casino chips, because that is not money. Just then, Kajita comes there, congratulating Seika for her wins. Shigeru notices Kato's swollen face as Kajita tells Seika that talented gamblers like her should play an even better and more exciting game. Seika is curious, and Kajita tells her that he will now take her to the Coliseum, which is even more exclusive than the VIP stage. She decides to follow him, and they go even deeper down the building and enter an underground arena, where a lot of magic beasts are kept in prisons. Kajita tells Seika that Monster Battle is the ultimate game his casino presents, and she can bet money on monsters who will fight to death on her behalf. Seika is already worried on hearing the description, and then the roar of a monster scares her. Kajita calms the beast, and Shigeru asks him where did he get that monster because he has never seen it in the wild. Kaguya replies that these are special monsters created at the casino, and Shigeru is shocked to hear that. Kajita then asks Seika if she is interested, but she is quite anxious right now, and Shigeru decides it is time to go home. He gives her the clue by mentioning Seiji and how he would love to see these monsters. Seika gets the clue and tells Kajita that she would like to head home today and tell Seiji about the exciting games here. Kajita can't stop her, and he asks Kato to escort her outside. In the elevator, Seika notices Kato's swollen cheek and she uses her healing magic to treat him. Kato suddenly switches sides on seeing his kindness, and he tells Seika to run away and never return to the casino because Kajita is after her life. He tells her that many rich people, and even many of his colleagues, have died at his hand, and even he is scared of losing his life at any moment. Shigeru asks him to come with them, but Kato can't escape because Kajita has all the information about him. He tells them to go outside and spread the truth about the casino so that one day a hero can come to destroy it. Well, his wish is instantly granted as Seiji, also known as Hero Aldine, comes there along with Rize. Seika is surprised to see them together, and the mortified Rize says that they met each other when they were both trying to infiltrate the building. Kato is moved to tears on seeing that a hero really came, and Seiji comforts him, before deciding to deal with the casino manager. Shigeru volunteers to come with him and Seiji retracts his wings to fit inside the elevator. Kato comes along too, telling them about Kajita's skill to absorb the life and skills of the people who lie to him. Once they get to the VIP floor, Kato yells at the customers to get out because the monsters in the basement are free and they may attack them. The customers panic and try to run away, with the employees not knowing how to handle the situation. Kato then leads Seiji and Shigeru to the basement, but another employee takes the only elevator they have and goes down first to warn Kajita. As Kato panics because now they don't have any way to go down, Seika arrives there in her angel form. Seiji gets startled on seeing her because he has never seen her in her alien form before. He asks her who the hell is she, and Saka asks Shigeru to keep her identity a secret. She introduces herself as El Caron, the Maiden of the Sun, and says that she can use healing magic and help them in the battle. Seiji is glad to have her on the team, and Shigeru thinks both of them are operating on the same wavelength. However, it is not 2 Delulu cosplayers that he has to deal with but 3. Just then, Rize comes there, transformed into a devil, and Shigeru takes a moment to realize her true identity. However, just as he is about to ask her to confirm, Rize hits him with a weapon she materializes out of thin air because she doesn't want her brother to know her identity. Well, Seiji is more interested in her weapon anyway, and Rize says that she has the ability to create weapons using her imagination. That is enough to impress Seika and Seiji, and the flattered Rize gives everyone some weapons to use. Just then, the elevator returns and the party gets inside. Kato wants to come with them too, but Seiji asks him to evacuate. Shigeru takes a more tactful approach, telling him to gather evidence of the casino's wrongdoings so that they can expose its connection with the government office that allowed it to grow so powerful. Kato takes on that mission and Shigeru's party heads down to the basement. Shigeru tells everyone to be careful and asks them to leave Kajita to him. He knows that Kajita is a truly evil person with no chance to change, and that is why he doesn't want innocent people like Seiji and Seika to face him. With that, they arrive at the basement, and turns out that Kajita has already drained the life of the employee who came to inform him about the situation. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.